Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. It is so good to see the chat popping. Hello. I hope you all are just doing amazing today. And if you aren't, I hope that your day gets better now that you're here. Hello, Eli, Mom. Hi. Hi, Nathan, Luna, Patrick, and Susan. April, Wendy. We got everybody in the house. I'm sorry to see, I'm sorry to hear that so many of you are having a rough week this week. There seems to be something in the air amongst our viewers, our regular viewers, that you're having a rough week this week. But I'm happy that you're here now, and I hope that for the next hour you're able to take everything that you're feeling and you're able to let it go just for the hour, maybe even longer if you're lucky, but hopefully at least for the hour you can take it and let it go. Um, as for everyone else who hasn't commented yet and wants to, I always like to ask everybody how you're doing today. And you're also welcome to state why you may be feeling the way you're feeling. We have a little community here on Evening Vibes, so we like to just be open and share and just create a safe space for everybody. If you can, please share the stream, whatever you're watching on. Share it with your friends, your family. The more viewers we have, the better show content we can bring you. You also see scrolling across the screen here my tipping methods. Any money that's given to the stream is put right into the stream. For the new year, I purchase a gift for all of my guests that are on the show. And I also use it for the technology for this show as well as our Friday and Saturday shows. We're saving up money for a new camera, which is on our Amazon wish list, in case anyone was wondering. Uh, so anything that you're able to give, if you are, helps. And I mean, as long as you can at least share the stream, that's always appreciated as well. I did see Julie. Julie has lost another person that she loves very dear, and I'm very sorry for your loss, Julie. That's very rough. You've had a rough year with loss, and I'm sending you all my love and healing and strength. Not looking forward to the cold that is coming. Me either. I'm not. But I already stay in my house because of quarantine and because of COVID, and I don't work. So my days aren't going to look too different. I'm mostly worried about our dogs. Be like, get out there and pee and come back. Oh, well, I'm glad you can see the comments now, Anne Marie. When I get my second COVID-19 vaccination. That's exciting. Yes, my mom and dad have both gotten their first vaccination. I'm so excited for them. I can't wait. I cannot wait to get mine and hug them and love them because I love my parents. So congrats, Wendy, and congrats to everyone else who's gotten their vaccine. And for those of you that are waiting, I'm there with you. So we got this. Eventually, we will all get the vaccine at some pace one way or another. I'm going to keep the show moving right along, though, and I'm going to welcome to the screen our special guest. A lot of you know her and love her, and she's been with me before, and I'm so happy to have her back once again. Please welcome Miss Maxi Chanel, everybody.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Hi, Maxi.
Julie, I'm sorry to hear about your friend, honey. We love you. Mwah. Be strong. And I was looking at the comments before you brought me on. So, Wendy, yes, we don't look forward to that cold, but the fact that you're getting your COVID vaccine, that's something to look forward to. Because I'm still sitting here waiting too. So, congratulations to you and everybody that's gotten theirs already. Thank God. Because yeah, we need to make it through this thing, right?
Right.
So how you doing tonight, my love?
I am doing well. I am very excited to have you. I'm excited for today's show. I've been in a good mood with the sun being out. I was like,
Yeah, it was
finally,
beautiful today. While Jaden and I were walking, it was like so sunshiny. It was great. And
it
now I'm
felt like
down
it
here
was
in her
summer.
drag dungeon.
It felt like it was like a Michigan hint at summer is what today felt like, even though it was only like 36 or
It
something.
really did.
I was like, summer, is that you?
Yeah, I felt that too. I definitely felt that as well. Yeah.
Well, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's been nice and leisurely, like so many of my days have been since COVID, like, the only thing you do now if you're not working at this time is just hope that things come to a quick and, solid close to this chapter of our lives. You know, so I just try not to worry and, make myself busy. Always helps being busy. So that's what I did today. I went and took care of some business I had to take care of and went for a walk with Jaden and Sophie. And now I'm here with you. It's great. So today has been nice and productive and busy. So I like it.
Well, I'm glad that you're here with us.
I'm
We
glad to
have
be here.
we have
I was
some
happy when you asked me to be on.
of course, we have some of our regulars already tuning in the comments, things that they love about you. I do have with the new following on the show, I do have some new viewers. If you'd like to give maybe like a small, just like rough boylesque background to you.
Okay, well, Boy Less background. I've been performing with them steady for 5 years now. Before that, I've been in the business for 30 years. I started when I was in 1991. My first drag number was Finally by CC Peniston. Gives you an idea of where I started. I was definitely inspired by Madonna and Vogue and the houses of New York, to start doing drag. So I had a very long career, and then I was like on my way out the door. I was like, girl, I've been at this so long, I think I'm going to hang up my pumps. And Jaden Black came along and was like, no, bitch, you are not done yet. Get your pumps and meet us at Tap Room because you're joining the Boy Less Troop. So I've been with the Boy Less Troop on a steady basis. I think I've been doing New Year shows for I think 6 years with them every year. And then I think I've been with Boy Less 4 or 5 years regular or steady on the house cast. So she keeps us working. That's why I called this her drag dungeon. Because you get to work, work. She doesn't let us stop working, and I'm very blessed for that. Like she's revitalized my love for drag and doing drag, like giving me a new lease. Like I often say to people, it feels like it's the '90s all over again.
I would like to point out, since you've mentioned the background behind you, when I used to do, because I used to do bottoms up in that room, and
Yes.
if anyone had watched bottoms up, that shelf behind you has changed drastically in the sense that when I started bottoms up, it had like one or two books on it. There is now a full library behind you now.
And not to mention the amount of wigs that have piled up on the other side of the books. I know one of my wigs is up there, so I had to come down here and restyle her because she got jostled so much up there on the shelf that I had to, I was like, well, let me look for a new direction for this girl for my party hat. Speaking of bottoms up,
In honor of bottoms up. If you're at home drinking, go ahead and join in. I have my tea.
yeah, get you a sip, get you a sip. Woo! As usual, I'm drinking tequila. Good for you.
Always. It'll cure all your ails. That's what I'm told.
Oh, Julie, you're so sweet. I love you. She said I'm beautiful in and out of drag, I think, or in and out of myself. I'll take it either way.
Both.
And classy and sassy is exactly how I like to describe myself. Yes, I love it. A little bit of ghetto, a little bit of bougie. I'm bougetto.
What does your collar say today?
Unit. I think it says unity. Is that what it says?
Yeah, it
It's
says unity
unity
and
and something. It was a collabo. This was like a special edition from ASOS for Gay Pride. And I
okay.
loved it, so I bought it. Yeah, and I figured coming on your show, I needed to represent.
Yes. All the gay love all the time.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think that's a good segue and the topic that you kind of wanted to focus today when we talked about you doing the show again. You had
Uh-huh.
that kind of area you wanted to discuss. Do you want to kick us off or you want me to?
Well, I when I talked to you about being on the show, I mentioned that I could come back on and discuss aging, in the gay community and aging in the drag community because I feel like I have some insight on that. I am 54 years old and I've been in the community since I was, I don't know, 19, I think was like, when I first, popped out, started doing things like realized there was a large gay community and, immersed myself into it as hard as I could. And so now, all these years later, it's a whole different world when you're like in your 50s in the gay community. And I have a different take on it because I'm different than most people my age, I found out. In that I am still like fully in it. Like most of my peers and my family and my friends that are gay and in the community are really like not even in the community anymore. They've like settled and they stay at home and they're like, oh my God, I couldn't possibly go out dancing. Like, whereas like I'm fully like in it, like meeting all the, I worked at Necto. I worked at Necto on Friday nights as one of the hosts.
Right.
So doing that, like you have no choice but to meet and mingle with kids that are like 18, 19 and up,
And
And it's
and be
so
attractive
funny.
to them.
Huh?
And be attractive to them.
And well, yes, of course. And I mean, most of us would be attractive to them if we just, you know, immersed ourselves in it. Like a lot of my friends are just like, I couldn't be bothered with 19-year-olds. They're like, they're so annoying. And I'm like, really, they're no different than we ever were.
Right.
Like it's the same. Like, everything is the same. My mom always used to say, like, she would never like she would always like hold on to clothes because she's like, it's gonna come back into fashion. One day you're gonna think this is the fashionable. And I'm like, no way, Jose. And then as I've grown older, I've seen it. It's just cycles. They come back in a different way, but it's the same
Right.
thing. You know what I mean? Cycles. I mean, everybody that's watching that's like I mean, I don't know, over 30, 35, between 35 and my age, they know this, that things happen in cycles and they've seen things come back. And some things are great when they come back, some things are awful when they come back, but everything goes in a cycle. And it's the same with human beings. Like, they're not doing, I mean, it might be a different method, but they're doing the same things that we did when we were their age. And
Right.
so people my age get really annoyed, with younger people. And I'm always like, pump your brakes. We were just the same way, but
Right.
different. Like, we thought we knew it all back then, just like they think they know it all. And instead of being annoyed with them because they think they know it all, realize that you were once the same way. So it's very different aging in the gay community because if you let them, they will hurt your self esteem. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it's like very like, I don't know, what's the word, the proper word I want to say? Like we're very like kind of vain and like always, like a lot of times we're very interested in like how we appear to people and how we
Mhm.
look. And youth is king. But as I've grown older, like I've always kept the philosophy that I'm only as old as I feel. So
Right.
if I let myself feel like old and decrepit, I'm going to be old and decrepit. But
Right.
I dive in there and hang out with like 18, 19-year-olds and like pick their brain and hang out with them and, show love. And, they keep me young.
I've definitely run into that in a sense of just like in a social sense, just where my brain as like mentally is different than most 25-year-olds.
Oh, definitely. Your brain is definitely different than most 25-year-olds.
But
Yes.
even so, like I have when
That's a
interacting
good
with
thing.
when interacting with like teenagers per se, especially ones that like people have asked me to speak to who are like just coming to terms with like maybe they're not straight or maybe they're not like the gender they thought they were. And
Uh-huh.
it's very hard sometimes to remind myself. I've gotten better, but when I first started to remind myself, like, oh wait, I can't talk to them like they've known themselves for like forever.
Right.
Or like at the same level of like I finding myself at like 21, 22. Like I have to think, okay, not only are they first discovering themselves, but they also haven't seen the world. Like they're still like a sophomore in high school. So I can't be like, ah, yes, compare it to the college experience because
They're
they're
like
only
a
like,
little egg, and we have to sit on them until they hatch.
yes, very
and that's
much.
and that's definitely one of my favorite things about aging in this community is that I have so much wisdom to give the kids. Now, not all of them are receptive to it, but
Right.
I keep keep trying, and then you find those that are like want to hear what you have to say and need to know about what it was like back then. And I'm like, you don't realize that like everything that everyone in this community has done before you came into this community has helped you be where you are today. And like they don't realize that because they're young. And so
Hmm.
it's like, my drive and like my passion to like teach them about their history. If that means movies or music, kinds of dances, like I love to nurture. And that goes into, the drag section of aging in this community, because one of my favorite things is to nurture young drag.
Hmm.
Like and Ani is one of those rare eggs that soaks it all up, and I love that about her. So I love to like tell her, I was telling her just this past Friday about the rave culture and like back when we used to go to raves because Ani loves to dance and she's all about it.
Right.
And so I was telling her about what it was like when we would go to raves and she just soaks it all up and I love that. Yeah. So I love to like teach the kids and pass down the information that I feel like I need to give them.
Well, I think a hard realization is you're reading Luna's comment.
I am reading Luna's comment. And honestly, and see, this is the bad part. I don't remember. I don't remember that. Like I said, if I see something like this, I'm going, you have to make them feel like ready to go.
Right.
Otherwise, their experience is going to be bad. Luna, I'm so proud that I could do that for you, honey. I love you for that. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, just anybody, like, just have some compassion towards the youth. And I feel like a lot of my peers and my counterparts and my family members, they just don't. Like, I always have to be like, listen, just think about when it was you, and that's all you need to do.
Right. Well, I think a huge difference that people don't seem to fully always get is that there's not everyone is nurturing. Not everyone is like someone that is meant to give information and offer advice and offer
That's
teaching and
true.
but when they think like, "Oh, I'm not someone that offers it," at least within our community, I've noticed that they move to like basically being a bitch.
Yeah.
Where they're
Yeah.
like where they're judging everyone and they're like if they see like a new drag or a new gay, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like can you believe?" And it's like, "What? Like
Yes, I can
why
believe
did you
because don't
jump?"
make me pull out pictures of what you looked like when you first started.
It's like, why did you jump to the other end of the spectrum? Like, you could just say, like, "I'm not, like, the drag mentor type," and then just, like,
Right.
move on with your life. Like,
Right.
that it could just stop there.
And that's why I'm like, that's why I say it's always like me having to read like my peers and my counterparts that act like that because you don't have to be that way. You could just not say anything at all
Right.
or, just point them in the direction of somebody that does want to help them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. Like if like someone reaches out to you like, "Hey, can you help me with XYZ?" Just be like, "No, but I know where I can it's like customer service. Like
Oh,
I don't have the answer, but this person might." And just
right.
like
And a huge example of that is like a lot of times the new girls, when they come to you, they're like, I want you to be my mother, which is like a huge, like be my drag mother is a huge responsibility.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're just not ready to take on that responsibility, just say that or point them in the direction, which a lot of times, does happen. But being a bitch and taking that road is just completely the wrong way because you want their experience. You want it. I mean, even if you're not a nurturer, you don't want to make someone's experience bad or
Right.
like remember that time that person said, whatever. Like, you don't want them to walk away with that experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you experienced it in the opposite direction? So we talked a lot about how you've been nurturing, how you've nurtured people, helped them, been there for them. Have you experienced it in the opposite direction where an earlier generation is helping you at
Oh,
this point
yeah,
in your
of
life, in
course.
your career?
And it goes right back to, I mean, I'm sure there are other examples, but the easiest one I can think of because she's with us all the time is Miss Inebriated. Because that bitch knows how to beat a mug. And honestly, in my career, it has never really been about makeup. I have always, makeup is part of the illusion. And I mean, I beat a, passable face, like pretty, face. But every day I'm learning something new from Ani about makeup and how to do my makeup. And like, because of her, a lot because of her, because she's like really, she could teach because she really like knows how to tell you like exactly what it is you need to know. You know what I mean? Like, because makeup is tricky because there's shades and tones and colors and application techniques and, all kinds of tricks and tips that,
Yeah.
when I first started doing drag, nobody was teaching anybody anything. We
Right.
were all like just learning on the fly. And some girls were great and some girls were not so great. But my luck was that I'm talented.
Mhm.
Back when I was young, I could like huck a buck with the best of them. Now that I'm older and I've gone through some things, it's not as easy anymore, but we're working on that. But nobody was teaching anybody. So, you were either like a look queen or you were a talent queen or you were funny, all the same kind of characters that we have now. But nobody was teaching anybody. Like, we didn't have like YouTube tutorials that you could just go on and watch tutorials for hours. Like,
Right.
that, none of that existed when I first started doing drag. So I'm still learning things, and if you stop learning, then you need to give it up. So I'm still always learning from Ani about like makeup things. Um, yeah. So once in a while, like I said, it's rare, but once in a
Mhm.
while you do learn things, and if you open yourself up to it, you will learn things from the younger generation. I mean, it keeps you hip, it keeps you young, to like see what they're doing and learn what they're doing and how they communicate and da da da, all that. So, yeah, that definitely happens.
This is a topic I think it's covered a lot on this show and shows similar, but I want to get your specific perspective on it. What is so it's a two-part question. The first
Okay.
part is the biggest difference from the beginning for you to now is the in the gay community. What is like the biggest difference you think there is, like maybe in specifically in club culture? And
Yeah.
then part two is the same question but about drag.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that one of the biggest things that's affected our culture is social media and online.
Mhm.
Like when I was first coming out and first coming into the scene, the way to make friends, the way to meet people was to go out. Like you went out, to the clubs and you met and you danced and oh, they're a good dancer. We want to meet them. Or, oh
Mhm.
my God, your look is so fabulous. We want to meet you. You had to go out to meet people. And now it's just not the same. Like the young kids meet each other in chat rooms or, you know, on Facebook or Insta and they're friending and following and da da da. And so, not so much does that happen in the clubs now, even though it does actually still happen in the clubs. Like I said, hosting Nectar on Fridays, I did see that. But what was funny was a lot of times you came to meet at the club, but you've already met online. Like I didn't realize that was what was happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's been one big difference. And as far as drag is concerned, the internet strikes again because a lot of the young ones go on, like, for instance, I was just watching the new episodes of Drag Race UK,
Mhm.
and they have this one young kid that's on there that's 21 that had only been doing drag for 1 year. And I mean, while I know that it's possible, it just would never seem possible
Yeah.
having getting on Drag Race, having done drag for 1 year. So a lot of the young kids go online and they know everything there is to know about makeup. They know everything there is to know about hair, and they know everything there is to know about breastplates or all
Right.
that stuff. They can learn all of that stuff with no mentor.
Right.
Whereas that's the only way we would learn back in the day. Like, when you wanted to do drag, you found a mentor or found somebody that was willing to like, excuse me, um, help you along and get you together. And then they found a place for you to go on stage and practice your craft. Like uh, the way we honed our talents and like learned how to perform in front of audiences is by performing in front of audiences at amateur nights and open mics and you know things like that. And you don't necessarily have to do that anymore to be amazing. And I
Right.
mean, they might not be amazing as far as talent, or they are amazing as far as their talent, but that talent has not been honed in front of other people. It's just been their opinion. So they come out and
Mm.
feel like they're all that. And sometimes, you know, you're not. A lot of times they are, which is amazing to me. And I'm awfully jealous about it.
The queen that you mentioned, from the UK,
Yeah,
is that
I
is
can't
that the
remember
same
her name.
is that the same queen that said she'd also had never been to a drag show? Are you thinking of that queen?
I think so.
Yeah,
I
there
think
was
she said she'd been doing drag for a year, but I don't think she'd ever actually like performed in
so
front of an
I'm
audience or like been to a drag show.
I'm interested in knowing RuPaul's way of thinking when casting. It almost makes me think, I wonder if he occasionally will pick a queen like that in this new day and age
Right, because
to kinda show that, like, not only the transition and drag, but also as kind of an idea that drag isn't always as easy as everyone thinks it is, if that
right.
makes sense. Because now that
I
we have such easy access to the internet, such easy access to all these things, it makes you feel like that you can do it, which maybe you can. Um, but not everyone's meant to do drag. It is such an um um what is it when you're a social person?
extrovert,
Yeah, it's such an extrovert type sport
right.
that like it's not for everyone.
Well, it's funny. I mean, you would think it would be a sport for extroverts, but a lot of times it really like an introvert does drag, and then their persona also as the one of the drag queens on UK, the one that was crying during they had to do choreography. RuPaul loves her. What is her name? It's like oh
I'm so
something.
bad with names.
It's she's Scottish, so it's like
Oh,
it's a
yes.
guy's name. It's like Thomas O'Hara or something.
I know who you're
Anyway,
talking about.
he's a total introvert, but he started doing drag and got a drag persona to like, you
Right,
know, be out there. But he's really not out there because the minute the drag comes off, he can't do that anymore. And they were like, you realize you're the same person, right? So, yeah, I think RuPaul does that on purpose because that there is the argument between queens that have had to have mentorship in order to advance their craft and queens that haven't. So there is that argument, and I'm sure RuPaul is well aware of that. And she pick that child that had only been doing drag for a year on purpose to like debate that argument.
right.
Yeah, I try never to have hate. I'm like, if I see a girl, progressing and gets and has done it with no, God bless you. Go ahead. Like, there's so many haters in this world that
Right.
hate for no reason. Like, she's not hurting you. Let her live her life.
Right. And I do wanna apologize in the sense because I like Luna's commenting I'm an introvert, and I didn't mean it's not for introverts, like, I'm an introvert, and I also partake in drag. I
Oh
guess I meant
yes.
that not everyone understands the transition into drag. Like, there's just at some point, an extrovert has to appear, whether you're faking it or whether it's
Now see,
actually
I'm an
you.
extrovert, and I
Right.
started drag so that I could be even more so. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right, and I think some people miss what I'm saying is drag is difficult, and it can like, especially for an introvert, and some introverts don't understand the transition until they experience it head on.
So they're in it.
Yeah. I guess that's what I meant by it. I didn't mean to say that introverts cannot do drag because I'm an introvert.
Oh no, they definitely can. But yeah, it's really like, and I mean, Luna will attest to the fact that once she's in all the geesh, it makes it easier to like, you have to go pick up tips and you have to like say hi and,
Yeah.
so, you know, it pulls you out of that shell.
And
Yeah.
I think too what made me have that thought too is thinking about some of the people we have performed for, and a lot of them before the show starts think they're coming to a show because they get to see a man in a dress, and that's like all drag is. Like, it's just as easy as that. When it's not, like,
Right.
it's so much more. And it
No, a
yeah.
man in a dress is cross dressing. We are showgirls.
Right.
And it's
and
a whole nother story.
and I mean, and drag isn't always a man in a dress because there's drag queens who aren't men in dresses. So
Right. Right.
right, and Luna said I
Yeah.
become an extrovert real quick. So
Oh yeah, real quick, right, Luna? Yes.
it is, you just flip it on.
Yeah, I mean and it's God, what is that child's name? But yeah, that was really interesting for me
Kevin
when
said Lawrence Chaney.
Lawrence Chaney, that's his name, because that's how RuPaul always said Lawrence Chaney. And I absolutely love him. Love him. So great in drag. But once that makeup came off, he was like, they were like, girl, why are you still in face? Everybody took their makeup off. And she was like, well, I don't really feel the same when I take the makeup off. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
Mhm.
Lawrence Chaney. Yeah, I love the British drag race. It's a lot of fun. But I'm an Anglophile, so I love all things British. I'm watching, I had never seen the show Chewing Gum, and I'm watching Chewing Gum. I don't know if anybody has watched the show Chewing Gum, but it is really funny.
It's funny because I was just talking with my mom on the phone today about, like, British shows,
Uh-huh.
and we were talking about I mean, we're family, so it's probably why we share the same view, but we were talking about that we have trouble watching it
Right.
because, not just the accent I mean, because 'cause I'm sure it's the same way if someone were not from America and they were to watch American, like, shows, but because it's how they talk every day, just like you and me with American language,
Right.
they talk so fast and you're like, "What is happening? What did I miss?"
Well, well, I grew up in Africa, as you well know, and the only television we got when I was a kid was BBC.
Yeah,
So I'm a little more used to it. I mean, I can't even remember the name of the show, but it was like one of my favorite shows. It's the one about the department store. If anybody can help me out, it's a British show about
Donnie would know.
a department store. No, nothing. But anyway, I used to watch that. We used to watch Doctor Who. It was all British television. So yeah, it's a little easier for me because I know they do talk fast and the accents. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with, Luna's comment here about
Mm,
Drag Race.
thank you, Kevin. Are You Being Served was the name of the show. Yeah.
Luna's comment about UK Drag Race versus US. I find UK and Canada Drag Race a lot more interesting than the US because they are more accepting of, like, going outside the boundaries.
Not only are they more accepting of that, but my thing, and this goes back to what we were talking about before, I love on the UK and Canada, the girls don't hate on each other.
Yes.
Like you get these American chicks and it's all about the battle, and it's fine to be competitive, but you don't have to be nasty to be competitive.
Yes.
And I love that like they root really hard for each other. I live for that. That
Yeah,
was the
especially
biggest difference I noticed on those shows.
yeah, I noticed especially, in the Canada one, maybe because I watch that one more often than the UK one. They might do the same in UK, but, like, whenever, like, a girl, like, slips up, they're like, "Oh, girl, you okay?" Like, and she's having a
Yeah,
panic attack. It's like, "Oh, do you need
they
help? Like, what
rally
can I do?"
around
And
instead of like,
In the US, they're like, "Can you believe that?" I'm like, "Why are you
right,
judging?"
right.
It's so much pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure and judgment, but it just is what it is. We are very competitive people, you know, and
Well,
capitalism,
the
breed
arts is just competitive in
it is.
general.
But our society and the way we are, it's always like one-upsmanship a lot of the
Yeah.
time. So there's nothing wrong with that, but I am much more favored. I much more favor the nurturing. I mean, even though we are competing, it doesn't have to be nasty or mean. Like, that's what I have always noticed about, backstage at pageants, here, like, I'm just like, a friend of mine was in a pageant here, and
Mhm.
you've heard this story before, but all the girls were lined up backstage to go on before evening gown. And this was a national pageant. And my friend was standing behind one of the front runners, and she turned around and she was like, girl, could you back up a little bit and allow my gown to breathe? And I was like, whoa. I would I would not have taken it as graciously as she did. I would have definitely said something that would have caused friction.
Right.
Because yeah, like I'm a pacifist, but once you come at me, it's gonna be you gonna get it. So just don't, because I won't give you a reason to. And it's just totally unwarranted. Like that's the kind of stuff that I can't take.
So April brings up an interesting question. I'm actually gonna put it on screen here.
Uh-huh.
She says, "Do you ever feel that colleges and universities will ever recognize drag as one of the theatrical arts, maybe a college course in drag?"
Oh, I mean, I feel like like hasty pudding and all that kind of stuff. I think it's already there. And I know that at U of M, I've been asked a few times by professors to come to their classes and talk about drag. Now, it should be, of course, it would be cute. Like, that would help a person. Like, you got your makeup and your stage persona and your brand. I mean, because all of these things are like a must know in today's drag. So it would be great. I don't know. I don't see why it wouldn't. I'm pretty sure in like, probably in like California or like New York, there's probably already that happening. I don't know how or how big that's going to be across the country, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at some point because drag is so huge right now.
Right. I mean, from a theater perspective, studying theater for 5 years, at Eastern Michigan University, it definitely I mean, it comes up in a way of just not specifically drag, but I mean, you go through the history of theater and you talk about the early days of theater where men are playing women and women are playing men based on just the segregation of gender in theater troupes.
Right.
And then as you move forward, you talk about it even more. And now they're writing shows all the time, musicals and plays that have drag like
Yeah.
characters in them. So then it
Yeah.
becomes a history lesson in itself of like, okay, the history of this character, where did this character come from? So while it's not directly a course, it definitely is discussed.
Yeah. Oh, it's discussed. And like I said, what college is that does the hasty pudding?
I'm not sure.
I think it's like Harvard or Yale. It's one of the, one of those colleges. And they do a show every year where the guys are in drag. It's a big thing.
Hmm.
So it's happening. There was something else I was going to say. I forgot. Have you seen the show? See, this is another thing. I got old timers memory to save my life. I can't remember anything. But there's a TV show, something Ultimate Playlist, or it's about this chick who hears people's thoughts, but it comes to her as like music in her head. And so she can tell kind of like how people are feeling or thinking because these songs play when she's doing these huge performances. But her across the hall neighbor is like drag queen. Like drag is like everywhere. So
Right.
I don't see why. I feel like a college course is coming very soon. Like it's gonna be in a college somewhere. Drag 101, drag 201, and so on.
Well, and also it's studied in like feminist theory courses. They recently have made a lot of universities have made a major in like gender and women's studies and in feminism specifically. And I mean, you talk about in those classes like sexuality and gender. So drag always comes up in those classes too.
That's that's the classes that I was speaking to at U of M. Yeah,
Yep.
women's studies. That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very common they have because I've done it too as a trans person and also as a
right,
drag king.
right.
And I know Jaden's done it as a drag queen.
Yeah,
I know other queens in the area have done it as well. So I mean, they have guest speakers come in not to specifically give like a training on like how to put your makeup on,
right.
but to talk about drag culture.
But I really do think that pretty soon it's going to be that where there will
Yeah,
be all of the points of drag like taught as a class and your final is a performance or
right.
it would be really cool. I feel like that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things, unfortunately, that has like it still has a little bit of a hill to climb. I mean, I made big steps at Eastern just as like an open trans person in the theater department. A lot of my professors didn't realize they had worked with trans students before because they weren't open. And so, I mean, just talking about that in general has been difficult in itself. So it'll probably be a minute before they talk about it in an art form, but it definitely, I agree with you. It'll definitely probably get there one day.
Craig, yes, I do remember you, Madison Reynolds. Nice to hear from you, honey. I hope you're doing okay. Making it through this COVID madness, this all this crazy, but we gonna get through this. And we will be back doing a new jewelry box review, hopefully.
Ooh.
Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Yes, that's the name of the show. If you haven't seen it, it's really funny.
I'll
It's
have to.
good.
Kevin mentions that Alex Newell is in it, which we are all about that in this household. So we'll have to
Is
check that out.
Alex Newell the child from that was on? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
She was on Glee.
Glee. Unique.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes, she is. She's funny. Love her.
We tried, Jaden tried to get her for Pride one year, but she was too expensive.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. We're big fans in this household of Alex
Yes, very
Newell.
much a fan of her. That bitch can sing her ass off. Like
Yeah.
blow the house down. Boots.
April said, she finds it hard explaining to unfamiliar people that drag is not based on sexuality, and that's what I'm
It's
saying is
true.
like it's such there's still a hill to climb up
Yeah,
with things related to gender specifically. The world is getting on board with sexuality and that people are all over the spectrum. There's still people that don't get it, but the world is getting there, and we talk about sexuality a lot more in college. But gender is still it's still making its way. It's the same thing with talking drag and transgender slash non-binary. That area is very gray and muddy in a lot of spaces.
yeah.
So, especially because a lot of people, I could go into a whole thing. Never mind, I don't have time.
I mean, you know.
A lot of people think it's the same thing, and then when people are like both, then they get even more confused, and then it's just
Right. And it's even harder to explain. Like,
yeah,
but my whole thing is like, yes, it's hard to explain, but if you want to understand, it's pretty easy. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Yeah. I feel that to be true. Like, if you want to understand, it's easy to understand it.
Just a non-binary. I dig it. It's I was combining my words, okay?
Non binary.
I was saying non-binary, non see, I'm doing it again, non-binary and area at the same time, and it just wasn't coming out correctly.
Yeah, Nick, I get it. I get what you're saying. It was almost like, back in the day when I came out to my family, like I came out to my grandmother and I told her that I was gay, and she had this horrified look on her face and like got all concerned because she thought I was telling her I had AIDS. And I'm like, no, girl.
The
it's
two do
not
not
it's not the
coincide.
same thing.
Oh my gosh.
So it's kind of what you're saying. I get it. Yeah, the fact that you want to do drag. Oh yeah, I had to face that one too. And honestly, like, back in the day, I was very cute and, effeminate. And, I didn't necessarily like, even now, I don't necessarily wear men's clothes. Like, I find, women's jeans were the first ones to have like stretch. And I was like, ooh, I like the way that works. So I always bought women's jeans and like tops. And, I was effeminate. And, just because you dress that way does not mean that you live as a woman, and it's like people always ask me, like, are you transitioning? And I'm like, it would confuse the hell out of me because I'm like, what do you mean? They were like, you do notice that, you look like a woman all the time. Like, even when I get on the phone, people are like, ma'am, all the time. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I would go to the store and I would have like full 5 o'clock shadow, and they'd be like, ma'am, would you? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, it's very hard when you are doing drag. A lot of people do think you're transitioning, which is just just I mean, they just don't understand that it's a form of expression and not necessarily that you're like becoming a woman. Like this ain't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could have a whole discussion
Yeah,
around
that's a
it.
whole nother thing. Yeah, it's true.
April said Prince wore women's clothes all the time. Exactly. Well, that's
And
like
there
great.
was, but I mean, his music left some confusion.
It
Now that I
did.
think about it, like Prince wanted people to be confused and he wanted people to ask those questions, therefore, like opening the conversation was what he was doing. Yeah.
And it brings up the whole conversation too around, like clothes don't necessarily have a gender. They can fit to any body and that whole
Yeah,
discussion.
seriously. Like for the most part, I really like never shop men's. Like it's so much easier and more comfortable. Like women's sweaters are always, I mean, and my whole thing is I like trendy disposable fashion because I
Mhm.
like to change all the time. And
Yeah.
women's clothes generally are less expensive because they're like on a trend and it's only going to last for like so many seasons. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just, after a while, once I started doing drag, I was like, oh, these clothes are just so much better, like on an everyday basis for me. So that's just what I do.
Right.
But
And it's totally to
I
just
mean,
fill
I
your
look
needs.
at me and I see a guy, but that is not necessarily, I mean, I guess it's the earrings because I always wear hoop earrings like this. So I don't know.
It's kinda like the same alarming thing when people find out that your, like, given name isn't Maxi and they're like, "I would never."
It was a thing when I started doing drag. Like once I did drag, it made such an impact. And I
Yeah,
mean, that was how I knew most people was from the club, or that's how they knew me. And so once I did drag, people that didn't know my name knew my name as Maxi.
yeah.
So it just became a whole thing. Like people just started calling me Maxi after I did drag. Like they never called me Mark. And it got so crazy that my family came to town to visit and came to my job and asked for Mark. And they were like, there's no Mark that works here. So they called me on my cell phone. They were like, we just went to your job and they said you weren't there. And I'm like, I'm right here. What do you mean? And then I got it. I was like, oh, they're asking for Mark. So yeah, ran
Look at that,
upstairs.
Maxi. We got in honor of your favorite queen on UK Drag Race, we have someone that just joined us from Scotland.
Oh, yes. Is it Lawrence Cheney?
He arrived incognito as Andy Mundi.
Andy Mundi, how are you, darling? Glasgow. Glasgow. How do you say that? I'm not sure.
Oh,
I think it's
Glasgow? I don't know.
Glasgow.
Glasgow, Scotland? Sorry, we're very American on
Well,
this
that's
channel.
very awesome. All the way from Scotland, huh? Come to see
Don't be
little old
offended by
me.
us.
Oh, me.
Just for you.
Just for me. All the way from Scotland. Are you rooting for Lawrence Cheney? Because I am.
Yes, Andy, now
I
we need
like
to know
Lawrence
who's your
Cheney.
favorite drag queen
I
on Drag Race.
child Gottmik is no joke.
Yes.
That chick's no joke. She's cute.
Mhm. That
Yeah.
fashion in the last episode, those 3 looks,
Baby, yeah.
my
But you gotta be
god.
a skinny, narrow ass bitch to wear some shit like that. I get a whole nude bodysuit and then do it.
Yes, nude bodysuit.
It is hard, Anne Marie. But I was having this argument with Lish earlier because we were talking about one of our friends that might be transitioning. but then actually they're not. They are transitioning, but they're transitioning to a they, them, there,
Mhm.
and I said, well, so are they a they, them, there? We were talking about it, and they were like, yes. And I could just see her rolling her eyes. And I was like, well, girl, if that's what they want, that's what you have to respect.
Mhm.
And it's all about respect, like going into pronouns. Like, it's so simple. It's just respect. If you come from an area of respect, you know, but she was not trying to respect it. And I was like, girl,
Yeah.
no, get it together.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Please do not hamper their journey. Let them go on their journey.
Yeah, I mean, if you got someone like Maxi who's totally okay with the name that you met her
Right,
under in everyday
right,
life, that's cool. Just ask. I mean,
right.
I'm someone
Yeah,
that
you just come from a place of respect. And
yeah,
yeah, but it is so hard
it is.
not to call, like a lot of my friends, Mark is my given name. And
Mhm.
like before I started doing drag, they called me Mark. And then after I started doing drag and nobody would stop calling me Maxi, when they would come along and call me Mark, they'd be like, oh, no, I'm sorry, Maxi. And I'm like, no, my name is Mark. And that's how you met me. And that's fine, you know. But most of them now have given over because they realize nobody is calling me Mark in these streets. So they finally had to fold.
I will agree with Luna's comment. I am also very much in love with Utica.
Utica. Oh, I forgot about Utica. How did I forget Utica? I have a
Utica is
crush
my
on
favorite.
Utica as a
Yes, crush
boy.
on Utica.
And I love Utica's drag. I live for it. That fucking sleeping bag coat was
Yes,
everything, honey.
it was beautiful.
Yeah, it
And the
was
makeup to match
fabulous.
it was even just
Yeah,
great.
Utica is the bomb as well. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
She still has me from her first few moments on the first episode when they said, "Why are you wearing a strawberry?" And she goes, "Because as a kid I was allergic and now I've overcome it."
Yeah,
Uh,
Utica is funny. I like Utica. Yeah, there's a lot of great girls on there. It's fun. I never used to watch Drag Race. Like, I'm catching up on Drag Race because when it first came on, I was like, oh, child, I live that every day. Why the fuck do I want to watch a TV show about it? And
mhm.
then I did see an episode and I was like, oh my God, this is pretty incredible. So then I started catching up and yeah, now I love it.
Well, I had to, like, reevaluate how I watched it. I'd never watched it before, I started dating Jaden. It just wasn't part of
Yeah.
my life,
Yeah, see, I
and
didn't either. You know that.
and so when we'd watch it, I took it so seriously. I was like, "I don't get this show. I don't get why this is funny. I just don't understand." And then I saw somewhere someone else had posted, like, a similar rant to mine, but then it ended with, then I realized it was a reality TV show, and I went, "This is reality TV? Wait a minute, what?" And I had to, like, rewind, rewatch a season, and be like, "Oh, I get it. Oh my gosh, I understand now."
Yeah.
I was taking it so literal for what it was. And I mean, yeah, the queens are passionate about winning, and they do have, like, some really good stuff that they do, but, like, in the moments where they're, like, not great people, I was like, "I don't get the show anymore." But then I was like, "Oh, it's reality TV, they're doing it for a camera."
Yeah,
Like
it's all about the drama. Yes.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
producers, like, poking the bear.
It is a fun show and it has definitely broke drag wide open.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought that we would have the impact that we're having right now. And it's mostly because of RuPaul's Drag Race. So it's been an amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, Maxie, we've hit 9 o'clock.
Oh my God, we ran our mouths real good, didn't we?
I know usually I kick people out at 5 too, but I was like, "This is too good."
Well, I had a blast with you, and I love you all, everybody that's watching. Um, Rai Rai's parents, I love you very much. I haven't seen y'all in forever and I miss you. We will see each other soon. Julie, Renee, Luna, I thank you for that wonderful comment, honey. I'm always going to be here for you if you need me, girl. Kevin, Nick, love y'all. What was our friend's name from Scotland? Thank you for joining us.
Andy.
Andy, thank you, baby. We love you. Thank you for joining me. I had a blast.
Yeah,
I
thanks for
can't wait to
being
do
here.
it again.
Of course, we'll always have you back.
Thanks, baby. I love you. You know
Love
that.
you too. Maxi Chanel, everybody. Isn't she? She is just amazing. Oh my goodness. Thank you all for tuning in. This was a really great show. I hope you had as much fun as we did. And I hope that you were able to forget about life for the last hour or however long you were on stream with us. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this a different day in the week, I hope the hour that you spent with us the different day in the week was also great for you and just gave you some carefree time to just sit back and relax with us. Please check out the different things we have coming up. I have so many things, so please bear with me as we go over time to talk about them. So this Friday, or let me back it up, Thursday, tomorrow, I will be doing another live stream crafting fun time on my personal pages, so you can always come out, see what I'm doing. I'll probably be starting around I don't know, like 6-ish again, somewhere between like 6 and 7, maybe more closer to 7. I'll probably start around 7. But I'll be crafting on stream, building my next costume. Hopefully, I'll get to actually wear it this weekend. So yeah, come and join me. It's a lot of fun. It's free to watch, and I just talk to you guys and have a good time. On Friday, we have our regular show. This week, it is virtual drag bingo, and we are having it for the Corner Health Center here in Ypsilanti. Um, 50% of proceeds go to the cause, 50% given back to the queens for all their time in performing. That is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is done through Zoom, so it's a lot of fun. The ticket link is in the pinned comment on Facebook. You can always find it there. Also, Julie is posting the different events in the comments as well on Facebook. Um, and then on Saturday, we have our family friendly show, also for Corner Health Center, where we do story time, a music lesson. And this week we have Ani Breated. So instead of a dance lesson slash movement lesson, we're going to have something else. I'm not sure what yet. She's going to be surprising us on Saturday, but I'm really excited to have Ani with us for our family friendly show. I do story time. Jaden does the music lesson. And then the next week, in for Valentine's Day, we have the amazing Boa from RuPaul's Canada Drag Race. I know, right? So Boa will be joining us live, not pre-recorded, live next Friday. There's also a ticket link for that that can be found in the pinned comment. That show is $20, I believe. And that's going to be a lot of fun. She's going to call in from wherever she is living these days and come say hi to us, and it's going to be really fun. And that show is for, hold on, it is in my memory. SOS Community Center in Ypsilanti. That's what that show is for. So for Valentine's Day, if you're looking for something to do, whether you have a partner or not, come and join us next Friday with Boa. And then what else is there? Oh, yes, at the end of this month, I am doing a special on this show. I'm doing a special panel. And it's gonna be the episode is called Queer as Heck, Evening Vibes edition. And what we're doing is we're gonna have a panel of around 5 to 7 queer identified individuals of all across the spectrum of queerness, and they're going to be joining us to answer your questions. I'm going to be creating a form at the end of this week that's going to be circling around Facebook. They can fill out anonymously all your questions, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Y'all, I have some good freaking people for this panel. I'm so excited to talk with them and talk with you. Some of them are people that you've seen before. Some of them are people that you've never met. And I am so excited for this panel. I can't believe the people that I got. I'm I am blessed. So definitely check that out. That's the last Wednesday of this month, the 24th. And then on that Friday, the 26th, this is a lot of dates. And I'm telling you this, just bear with me. Write it down if you want, or I will announce it again tomorrow, as well as next week, as well as the week after. On the 26th of February, we have a giant Ann Arbor Pride fundraiser. The ticket link for that will be up later this week as well. And what you need to do for that is come and enjoy the show. All the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds go to Ann Arbor Pride. It's going to feature RileyJay. It's going to feature some other local bands as well as local drag performers. If you have some type of talent, we're looking at you, new and upcoming queens, as well as our seasoned ones and kings and non-binary performers. We have a couple spots left. You can directly message Jaden Black. This is your chance to make your virtual appearance on Boylesque, Michigan. That is February 26th. Just message or email Jaden Black, and you can do that with us for Ann Arbor Pride. Other than that, I think that is all the big announcements. Oh, I do know my next guest. Next Wednesday, same time, same place, Evening Vibes. We have the amazing Tyler Calhoun joining us. If you used to watch Bottoms Up, you'll recognize him from the very first ever episode of Bottoms Up. He was our first special guest. And he'll be joining me to talk about, we're going to do some talking about being queer, talk about his podcast, sorry, not mine. He was talking about his podcast that he's working on, as well as what it's like for him to live in New York. Since we last saw him on Bottoms Up, he moved to New York, or I'm sorry, Chicago. Wow, I'm getting my people mixed up. He moved to Chicago. So we talk about Chicago, how his move has been, as well as how he is keeping busy during quarantine. So yes, please join us. I know that was a lot of things. The ones I want you to remember are tomorrow around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me on Austin Moan or on RileyJay Saronin for my live craft streaming, and join us Friday for virtual drag bingo for the Corner Health Center. I hope you all have an amazing week. You are loved. You are worthy of love. Take some time for you, and if you don't hear it enough, know that I appreciate the heck out of each and every single one of you that watch this show and for just existing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just always cheering me on. I'm super excited to keep doing this stuff with you and keep creating with you. Have a great rest of your night. If you ever need to talk, I'm here to listen. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.